one of the things that I'm always planning is planning my escape, planning my exit, and even planning the exit strategy from the different businesses that I'm a part of, but also when it comes to content creation, right? When I see what happened to Jordan Peterson, for example, when I see what happened to Andrew Tate, what they tried to do with Kevin Samuels, right? When I see what happened to Trump, not only am I looking at it from a financial perspective and I'm saying, hey, it's always better, or are you weighing the options of whether or not you want to be independent or you want to be corporate, right? When we say corporate, we can even include a lot of these rappers and entertainers, and you see the Meg Thee Stallions, and they saying, yo, I want out of my contract. You see, what's my name? 5 Yo Foreign getting into it with Mace, talking about, yo, Mace only gave me this or whatever, so on and so forth. When you see this, I know that a lot of these people don't understand business, especially the artists. But then when I see a lot of other artists and I see them playing the independent role, I think that it's a pro and a con, because it's always not a pro just to go independent, but I want to mind that out, right? I want to mind that out. But before we get into that, I was on a call yesterday. It wasn't a coaching call. It was actually just a call that I was listening in on. And I was observing because somebody invited me to listen in because they wanted me to give them their constructive feedback of how it was that they performed, right? And so I was listening in, and what I realized yesterday is that most people have no clue of what it takes to get rich when it comes to looking at things from a business perspective. And let me give you the skinny, right? Most people are either all the way to the left or all the way to the right, whether it be politics, whether it be opinions about the Black community, whether it be relationships, but especially when it comes to money. And you would think that money is a universal principle or a universal way of looking at things, and that there's a one-size-fits-all solution to what it takes to be successful, right? And we're going to lean into the Kanye conversation right after we go on to this because it feeds into it. But the thing about it, and the thing that's interesting about this whole thing, is that you will have people that say, no, you got to have a lot of cash in order to be able to time the market. Even when it comes to the market, you'll say, yo, I'm a buy and hold type of person. Yo, I'm a strategic investor because I make informed decisions. No, I'm a day trader, and I'm even into Forex. So many different ways to lose or make money depending on how you look at it. And then you have different people that earn a lot of money but don't understand how money works. Take, for example, your favorite rapper or entertainer, right? It's not uncommon to see a basketball player, and these are only the ones that we know that are visible. It's not uncommon to see a basketball or a football player. Yo, I had a former football player that actually had it wasn't a Super Bowl ring, it was a college ring. He actually had won like a college playoff or something like that, right? And he was a former NFL player, and he was actually my Uber driver, right? Which is nothing wrong with working and getting to the bag and stuff like that. Like, you got to do what you got to do. But when I was hearing his story and he was telling me his story, he basically was telling me how he had no understanding of money and how he had to lean on his connections as far as people celebrating the victories that he had in yesteryear in order to even be able to feed his family. A lot of these guys are dying broke. It's just real. A lot of these guys are dying broke, right? You have a lot of people that make a lot of money, but they don't know how to keep a lot of money, and they don't even know what retirement or what would happen if they no longer was a part of that industry that they're making a lot of money. The runway for a lot of these NBA players, and we're not talking about the Dame Lillards, we're not talking about the LeBron James, we're not talking about the Steph Curry. Shout out to Steph Curry. I'm going to cover him tomorrow, probably, because I heard he signed up to $1 billion deal or something like that with Under Armour. But we're not talking about those guys. We're talking about the guys that got a runway of 2 to 7 years in the league, and they gonna make a decent amount of money. In the first $1 million that they spent, they blew it all, and they all are already in debt, and they still owe taxes. It's a lot of people that have no clue what it takes in order to be successful long term when it comes to money, right? It's already hard enough to get to the point where you're earning a lot. And once you get to that threshold, because if you're earning a lot, chances are, if you are in corporate America, if you're a business owner, you grind. You grind to get to the point to where you're actually making an extraordinary amount of money. Even if you're an athlete, you had to train your entire life to get to the point where you have a short window in which you make a decent amount of money, right? And so that's half the battle, is getting to the point where you earn a decent amount of money. And we've already had a lot of those conversations about how 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 isn't enough to raise a family of four on. But once you get to the money, what you gonna do with it? And we forget that, right? That part goes out the window. We don't want to have the conversation once you have the bag. We only want to talk about how much you getting, and then we want to have another conversation about how much you lost and how much of a dusty you are when you got to go back and work at Target. I look at these real estate agents, and some of these real estate agents, they did $1 million deals. $1 million deals. Took home before taxes, 60. Some of them took home close to $100,000 after the deals is done, right? And they out here suffering right now because selling the property isn't as lucrative long-term as owning the property. And there's multiple different ways to make money with regard to real estate, but the best way is to be able to take advantage of the tax advantages along with having somebody else pay off the mortgage long-term and then be able to increase your net worth. But we're so busy looking at how much money somebody earned instead of looking at how much their net worth is. And so when you have these conversations with people and they say, I want a six-figure man, what does that really mean? A lot of these six-figure men got six-figure debt. And I'm not talking about good debt, because there's a difference between good debt and bad debt. But when I say debt, universally, I'm talking about consumer debt. They're paying egregious amounts, 18 to 25% on their credit cards. They got all of these student loans that they still beg and buying to get rid of. They have no clue on how money works. You would not believe how many people I've coached, from corporate executives all the way to doctors and surgeons, who are making a ton of money, buying a ton of stuff. And just because they have a ton of stuff does not necessarily mean that they have a phenomenal net worth. Now, for them, it's a little bit different because they have a career in which they'll make a lot of money for a long time. So they have the ability to be able to circumvent all of the problems that they're going to run into by making more money. But when you talk about these rappers who got one-hit wonders or may even have a 3 to 5 year career, and that's phenomenal. Ain't nobody no Fat Joe out here. Ain't nobody no Fabulous. It's very rare of them. We always like to reference the Jay-Z, but we don't like to reference the Fetty Waps. When you talk about these people who have a short runway, window, quick money, fast money, don't understand how money works, it is not going to play in your best interest because you don't understand how money works. It's not about just getting rich. It's about staying richer. It's about understanding how money works. That is the key. Net worth. Long-term investments. Strategic. Not trying to get the meme stocks and all of this other type of stuff. You can't gamble your way to success. You can't. You can have a quick hit, but the one thing I know about gamblers, and two things is for certain, they're going to show you the wins, but they'll never show you how many losses they'll have. They'll never show you how much they're in the hole. And that's the difference between people that are authentic and real and that can show you the receipts and the people that's just trying to sell you a narrative and a dream. All right. So I just wanted to leave y'all with that before we get into the show and we start talking about Kanye West, because it's important for y'all to really, really think outside of the box and think outside of what your parents taught you. Think outside of what these echo chambers are teaching you. Think outside of the things that people are trying to sell you, and instead align yourself with a group of people that's going in the direction that you're going in, because there's so much information and so many different ways that you can skin that cat. But we don't want to have those conversations because it's too much work and it makes us too uncomfortable. But we spend more time working on a thing that's not in our best interest, whereas the library is free. My Patreon is very, very cheap. The availability of different people that can pour into you is there, but you don't want to do the work in order to really educate yourself and put yourself in a position of power. And that's being stupid. That ain't even being ignorant, because you know better. And if you know better, then you need to do better, because then you don't have any excuses. All right. So let's get into it.